They say there are signs when your spouse is unfaithful. They are right. I just missed them till it was too late. My name is Robert. Everybody calls me Bob. I have a good job working for an engineering firm. I have just turned 31, married to Debbie. We have been married for 7 years, giving birth to the other love of my life, Isabel, or Izzy, as I call my 6-year-old daughter. I met Debbie technically on the rebound from her first and only boyfriend. They had dated for 2 years before the guy started cheating on her for not putting out. Debbie, like me, was very conservative when it came to dating. She wanted to wait till marriage. When she found out her boyfriend was cheating, she was devastated and dumped him. A friend brought her to one of our company picnics where we met just after she graduated from college. I later found out that it was a setup by one of her friends and one of my friends. We immediately hit it off. Knowing her history, I didn't make any sexual moves on her right away. I wasn't a virgin, but I would never have been considered experienced in the intimacy department. 2 months into our dating, we were making out with a lot of rubbing over the clothes. She told me she wasn't ready for intimacy, but she wanted to try a BJ. Of course, I was thrilled. It took her a few more weeks before she would let me go down on her. Debbie found she really enjoyed oral intimacy, both giving and receiving. It was just over 6 months from when we met that we agreed to marry. Debbie didn't make it to her wedding night as a virgin. 2 weeks after we were engaged, we were lying in bed after a night of drinking. Debbie's libido had always increased when she drank. Lucky for me, I had purchased some condoms to get ready for our wedding night, or that's what I told her. I was slow and gentle, but it was still painful and bloody. Our next lovemaking session was so much better. We made love all night long, and that started us like rabbits. Debbie quickly went on the pill so we could ditch the condoms. After marriage, our intimate life was great, but basic by most others' standards. Our intimacy was confined to the missionary or Debbie on top. I had no complaints, even if our oral had dropped off to little or nothing. We decided to have a child early on. After Izzy was born, I thought we had the perfect marriage. My career had taken off, and Debbie seemed to enjoy being a mom and a part-time teacher. Like all good things, it couldn't last. I never would have predicted that my perfect wife would cheat on me. Debbie had always been friendly with other men, but never the type to flirt or the like. I found out that her journey to cheating started at the neighborhood New Year's Eve party. The kids were all staying at one house with some teenagers babysitting while the adult-only party was at another house. There were at least 20 couples with the booze flowing. The hosts had mistletoe hung up around the house. There was a lot of good-natured kissing among friends. At midnight, everyone was kissing everyone, some more intense than others. Our good friends Tom and Jennifer were standing next to us at midnight. They have a daughter, Mary, the same age as Izzy. Jennifer is a doctor, while Tom does some contracting work part-time, which allows him to care for their daughter. Our daughters would often play together with Tom or my wife, taking them to activities. After Debbie and I had our midnight kiss, we kissed several other people near us. I kissed Jennifer in a polite, closed-mouth kiss on the lips. Tom and Debbie's embrace was more impassioned. If I had been paying attention, I would have seen their tongues dancing in each other's mouths. The party continued for a few more hours. During that time, I lost track of Debbie for a period of time. When we got home, Debbie was on fire. Her body was more responsive and passionate than it had been in a long time. The hard intimacy, I thought, was the result of alcohol and some of the kissing. What I didn't know was that Tom had pulled into the kids' bedroom where they made out like teenagers. Debbie not only got her first touch of another man, but she gave her first BJ that was not me. That was the start of their affair, the start of their secret getaways, the start of my perfect wife cheating on me. Debbie later said that didn't start having intimacy till St. Patrick's Day. She had given Tom BJs a few times, but it was after they were making decorations for a St. Patrick's Day party that they had intimacy for the first time. I missed several signs that should have tipped me off. Debbie was secretive about her and Tom's time together. Izzy became tired of playing with Mary, but Debbie insisted that they continue to play together. Debbie's interest in intimacy with me had diminished. There were other signs, but I simply didn't want to see them. I thought her renewed interest in working out and dieting was to get in shape for me. I wasn't picking up on all the texting she was doing at strange times. If I asked about it, she just blew me off that it was one of her girlfriends. They had been having intimacy for almost 3 months before I suspected. It was during drunken lovemaking that my suspicions were finally aroused. We had been at a function at my firm, and Debbie had a lot to drink. One thing about Debbie is that when she drinks, she becomes more affectionate. She was incredibly affectionate when we hit the bed. In our time together, we had never done doggy. I had asked her several times when we were first married to try doggy, but she thought it was dirty. Debbie got up on her hands and knees, telling me to mount her. To my shock, she called out, "Oh God, Tom!" I froze just at the moment she started her orgasm. I couldn't believe my ears. Debbie was too drunk to realize that I had stopped having intimacy. I pulled away, watching her as she relaxed after her climax. Debbie curled up in a ball, falling asleep. There was no sleeping for me that night. I tried to rationalize her comment. I just didn't want to believe that my wife would cheat. There was no other explanation. I was thinking about all the time that she and Tom spent together. The next morning, I simply asked her about having doggy, and that we had never done that before. The look on her face confirmed something was up. Her face went pale before she blamed the alcohol, but the stammering and the look of panic on her face told me she was lying. I did some research on how to tell if your spouse is cheating on you. One of the first suggestions was to check the spouse's phone and email. I shouldn't have been surprised that when I checked her phone when she was in the shower that it was password protected. We both had passwords on our phones, but we both knew each other's, or did. The password I put in that I thought was hers didn't work. I thought through the other signs that included diminished intimacy in bed. We certainly had that, but I blamed myself for the long hours I was putting in at work. The site I looked at said to watch the laundry. If your sheets were being changed more often and laundered more often, there might be a reason that more activity is happening on them than you know. It wasn't our sheets, but I had noticed that the guest room sheets were in the laundry quite often. We always did laundry on Sundays. In the hamper, I found sheets from the guest bed. The smell of semen was faint but unmistakable. I didn't want to believe it, but everything was pointing to my wife cheating on me. I tried to convince myself that I misheard her or it was just a drunken fantasy. My logical suspect, of course, was Tom. They spent a lot of time together, and it was his name she called out. The Memorial Day neighborhood party was 2 days away. Tom and his family would be there. I was going to watch for any signs of cheating, hoping that I was just overreacting. It was the annual party at the clubhouse to celebrate the opening of the pool. The kids were playing, and everyone was having a good time, except me. I was watching Debbie and Tom's every move, trying not to be obvious. I thought it was just my imagination projecting what I wanted, or didn't want, to see between the two. There were constant looks between the two, each time checking to see if Jennifer or I were watching. Twice my wife scurried off, saying she had to go to the bathroom. Not surprisingly, Tom waited a minute and announced he had to pee. The third time, I discreetly followed. I watched as Tom walked right past the bathrooms, going into the utility closet. I snuck up, standing next to the door where no one could see me. The door had vents in the bottom that allowed me to hear what was going on inside. At first, I just heard muffled moans. It was Tom's voice I heard telling my wife how much he needed her and couldn't wait any longer. There was more rustling when I heard my wife's voice for the first time, confirming my fears that she was in there. "Tom, I want you too. But we can't have intimacy here. Bob's been watching us like a hawk. I think he suspects." A squish and a groan from both told me Tom had started. Oh God, it feels great. That dumb son of a blip has no idea we are here. It's his and Jen's fault anyway. If they are going to be too busy with their work to satisfy us, they deserve for us to be having intimacy, he answered. Debbie moaned as I heard the sound of slapping flesh. I walked away before I had to hear them finish. I was in shock, probably looking like a zombie. I made my way back to the party, finding Jennifer. She immediately asked me what was wrong. I told her I wasn't feeling well and was going to go home. I asked her to tell my wife. When I got home, I threw up. I lay on the couch for about an hour, feeling sorry for myself. Flip this, I said to myself. My fears had been realized. I was well past denial. Now I was mad but didn't know what to do. I wanted revenge and I wanted proof. I was going to find out where they were doing it and when. Debbie came home several hours later with a concerned attitude. She asked how I was feeling. Being gone so long, I wondered how many times they snuck into the utility room. I wanted to ask her how her body was feeling, but I held my tongue. I wanted revenge. The good thing about being an engineer is knowing smart technical people. I knew a nice thing about smartphones was that you can't hide their location unless you turn them off. One of my techs told me that it wasn't hard as the owner of the service to access the GPS data of the phone. With his help, we did just that. There was nothing out of the ordinary. There were plenty of trips to Tom and Jennifer's home, but not as many as I would have expected. I guessed that most of the intimacy was happening in our house. If that was true, it would give me an advantage. The imperative was to catch them in the act and record them. I need intelligence. One of my techs told me about an app that would hack her phone to mirror her texts to my phone. When I told him I doubted I could get access to her phone, he said I didn't have to. All I had to do was send her an email with the embedded program. The tech grabbed my phone and had it programmed in minutes. All you have to do is hit send, and when she opens the email, you will have everything she is texting. Without hesitation, I hit send. Next, I had to figure out a way to record them in the act. My tech laughed at me. That's easy. You have a security system with cameras that you can access from your phone that record already, right? Yeah, but all the cameras are outside, I replied. We can add wireless cameras that also record sound anywhere and everywhere we want. We can go to lunch and pick them up. I'll need an hour to install them. I had the perfect opportunity. Izzy was starting dance camp on Wednesday, and so was Mary. Debbie would be taking her that day. I was certain they were going to use the time the girls were at dance camp to have intimacy, but the time to take and register Izzy would give my tech just enough time to install the cameras. My plan was coming together. On my way home, I stopped at the electronics store to buy the cameras I was told to get. When I was in the checkout lane, I received a ding on my phone. Debbie had opened my email and the app had been installed. I had to turn the sound off so she wouldn't know I was getting her texts at the same time she was. Izzy was prancing around excited about her dance camp. I tried to feign excitement, but it wasn't working. Once Izzy went to bed, I retreated to my office, giving Debbie time alone, thinking she would text Tom. I was right. They got into a big conversation. She was sending him pics of her body while he sent her pics of his body. I was expecting to see some big dong, but he looked just as average as me. Tom was excited about them dropping the girls at dance camp before coming to our house to have intimacy. Tom was glad that the camp went all day. He was looking forward to spending the day with my wife. Debbie told him that she wanted to get there early so they wouldn't have to wait in a long line for registration. With the registration time, my tech and I should have just enough time to install the cameras. My tech met me at the McDonald's where I parked my car. We waited up the street till Debbie and Izzy rolled by. My job was to put up the 6 cameras while the tech did the programming. The programming was the hard part. They were motion activated and could also be activated by remote. I put them in the kitchen, living room, the basement, our bedroom, and 2 in the guest bedroom. I figured the guest bedroom was where they would do it. We made it just in time. I watched on my phone as 2 cars pulled into the driveway. When I got back to the office, I tried to pull out my phone to see if they were having intimacy. I couldn't do it. I would have to wait till I got home. The key to making the plan work was for me to keep my cool. I tried, but couldn't help but ask some sarcastic questions to Debbie about enjoying her day. The panicked look on her face was enjoyable, but I had to stop if I was going to get the revenge I wanted. I retreated to my office again after Izzy went to bed. I watched as the outside cameras documented them pulling into the garage. Once inside the kitchen, they were in an immediate embrace, kissing and grabbing at each other. They didn't stay long in the kitchen, quickly moving upstairs to the guest bedroom. The sound was muffled, but the picture was very clear of them stripping their clothes off. I should have known it was going to happen, but I got even more pissed when she allowed him to finish inside. The funny thing was, while I was watching them, they were blowing up the text messages on how great their intimacy was. Debbie did say something to Tom about me acting strange. Tom just blew it off, was an idiot, and knew nothing. I couldn't watch the rest, but I knew I had them. I wanted a better sound. Early the next morning before work, I adjusted the cameras in the guest room in a manner that would allow me to hear them better. At work the next day, I watched on my phone to see their cars pull up like the day before. Right on schedule, they went up to the bedroom. In the privacy of my office, I watched them get ready to have intimacy, and the sound was good even over the phone. I knew I had gone a little too far with my sarcasm, and Debbie was on edge. "I tell you he knows something. I can tell," Debbie said. "Forget about him. Even if he suspects something, he can't prove a thing. He's where he always is, at work like my wife. They are too stupid to know that while they work while we are here," Tom said, laughing. "Don't you love the fact that their hard work is paying for us to be able to have intimacy like rabbits?" I had seen enough for now. I had my proof, but now the question was what to do with it. Our marriage was over, and I wanted to make her pay. I decided to go to an attorney to figure out the best way to end it. As mad as I was at Debbie, I knew this was going to be hardest on Izzy. One of my texts suggested a good lawyer for just my kind of case. He wanted to see me right that same day I called. I showed the lawyer some of the video and text messages. He laughed. "We can destroy her." He told me that our state was a no-fault state, but to keep the videos private, he was sure she would agree to anything. I told him I wanted everything I could get. The lawyer suggested that I contact Jennifer and get her in on the plan. It would be more effective to hit them both at the same time. He gave me the number of one of his colleagues who would represent her. I called Jennifer's office and was directed to her receptionist. I left a message for Dr. Miller to call me as soon as possible. Not 10 minutes later, my phone rang with Jen on the line. "What's wrong? Is everyone okay?" "Jen, we need to talk." She immediately asked if everyone was okay. I told her that everyone was physically fine. Her tone sounded like she knew what was coming. She told me to be at her office at 5 to meet after her last patient. When I walked into an examining room, she shut the door and spoke first. "That mother flipper is cheating again, right?" "How do you know?" I asked. "I know my work takes up a lot of my time, but I'm not stupid. I was getting suspicious about all the time he was spending with your wife. He thinks he is so slick. Tell me you have proof." I pulled out my phone and showed her a couple of short clips of our spouses. "He's dead. That mother flipper is dead," she answered. "The way you said that, I take it this is not his first time," I asked. Jen took a deep breath. "First, second, or third? After the last time, I told him no more or it was the end. My lawyer drew up an agreement that if he cheats again, he forfeits any claim to our marital assets." "Doesn't sound like you need the lawyer mine recommended," I replied. Jen smiled. "No, but I will have mine contact yours so we can make a coordinated attack." I told her all the evidence I had, including texts and video. She loved how I tapped into Debbie's phone and recorded their intimacy. As painful as it was going to be, she suggested that we collect another week or two of evidence before we act. Jennifer assumed correctly that I was seeking a divorce, given I had already consulted an attorney. We swapped cell numbers, and I gave her my lawyer's contact information. I barely got in the car when Jennifer called me. She had called her attorney, who would need 2 weeks to prepare to properly destroy Tom. I guess being intimate so much during the week, they need the weekend to rest. According to their texts, Debbie wanted to take the weekend off so she didn't arouse my suspicions any further. They planned to resume their plans come Monday. Sunday night, Jennifer texted me that she needed to talk to me. I was afraid there might be a problem or she was having second thoughts. I shut the door to my office and called her. The plan was still on, but she said she wanted to remind me to play it cool, and she curiously said under no circumstances should I have intimacy with my wife. She also said I shouldn't kiss her either. That was not a problem. I was disgusted by being near her anymore. When I got finished with the call, I noticed that Tom had texted Debbie some more pics of his body. He was excited that with the girls in dance camp all week, they would have the camp all week. Their routine was the same every day. Drop the girls off, go back to our house, and have intimacy. It was hard watching them mingle every day. It was even harder listening to him brag about what a good guy he was. Debbie rarely said anything, but one day she did say that she was finally getting enough intimacy to satisfy her needs. Jennifer asked me to meet her for lunch on Friday. She wanted to go over the plan. She had met with her lawyer and everything should be in place by the end of next week. Her lawyer had talked to mine. The plan was to hit them at the same time. Have divorce paperwork ready for them to sign with the threat that if they didn't, the videos would go viral. Jen again warned me not to have intimacy with Debbie. I told her there was no need to tell me that. I had no interest in even touching her. I asked her why, and she said it would send the wrong message to Debbie. That weekend, Debbie slept in most of Saturday morning till afternoon. She said she wasn't feeling well and didn't exactly look well. According to some texts between Tom and Debbie, Tom wasn't feeling well either. On Sunday night, Debbie told Tom that she wanted to rest on Monday and maybe they could get together on Tuesday or Wednesday. On Wednesday, once at work, I pulled out my phone to watch the cameras. Right on time, Tom showed up. Even though they didn't feel well, they were going to try to have intimacy. They both got naked, but I noticed Tom wasn't excited. I heard Debbie say, "I'm not sure I can do this, I'm not in the mood." Thursday morning, Debbie said she was feeling a little better but was walking funny. I watched intently from my office when Tom showed up at the house. Debbie stopped him in the kitchen. "We can't have intimacy today. My body is on fire and I'm very dry." Tom didn't argue. "I don't think I could anyway. My body is screaming in pain and I don't think I can get it up. I don't know what is going on." They talked for a while till Debbie accused him of giving her an STD. Tom got defensive and left. I called Jennifer, who didn't act surprised or concerned when told her about their illness. We finalized the plans to confront our spouses on Friday. The kids had their final dance class with a little performance. Their grandparents were attending, and we had planned on going with them for the weekend. This wasn't unusual, so neither Debbie nor Tom were suspicious. Jennifer told me that she had notified the police to be outside when she confronted Tom. She feared that Tom would get violent when she showed him the evidence. He had in the past. I had almost everything I needed prepared before I left for work Friday morning. The paperwork was ready and I had my videos set up. I had packed 2 suitcases for Debbie and hid them away. We got a little delayed after the dance performance. My parents were concerned with how Debbie looked. We stood there and talked for over half an hour while Jennifer and Tom left right away. I drove fast and took a shortcut, beating Debbie home by a few minutes. I quickly got my presentation ready, including putting out the suitcases. Just as Debbie got home, Jennifer texted me. She had already confronted Tom. As she feared, he got violent, hitting her. The police were right there, stopping him before he could do any harm. Tom was going to jail. She had a few bruises and cuts, but nothing serious. Debbie walked in just as I read Jennifer's last text. With Tom in jail, I was certain Debbie had no idea what was about to hit her. "Debbie, can you come into the living room?" I asked. She walked into the room, noticing the 2 suitcases by the wall. "What's with the suitcases?" she asked. "I'll tell you in a minute. Have a seat in the chair. I have something to show you." I hit play, turning the screen on the TV. Up popped a screenshot of a text conversation. Tom: "I can't wait to be with you again." Debbie: "I can't wait to be with you again. I've missed you." Tom: "I can't wait to have intimacy with you." Debbie stood up. "What the hell is this?" I hit pause. "Please sit down. All will be clear in a moment." Debbie continued to stand with her hands on her hips. I yelled at her. "I said sit down!" She sat down, starting to say something. I put my hand up to tell her to stop. I hit play again. Upon the screen was a shot of our guest bedroom appeared, then faded to Debbie and Tom naked in the bedroom. I watched as Debbie gasped, putting her hand to her mouth. The picture zoomed in on a naked Tom standing next to the bed. They are too stupid to know that while they work while we meet. The picture faded to a compilation of the two mingling. Debbie was crying, telling me to stop the TV. I hit pause. "What does my loving wife have to say?" I asked. Tears were flowing down her cheeks. "I'm sorry. It was a one-time thing. You have to believe me. It meant nothing to me." In a very calm voice, I said, "Don't lie to me. It will only make it worse, if that is possible." I hit play and forwarded the video to the next chapter. Another text conversation came on the screen. Debbie stood up again. "You hacked my phone? That's illegal." She got her phone out. "Sit down and shut the up. If you are thinking of calling or texting your lover, don't bother. Jennifer has already shown him the proof that we were too stupid to have. He flipped out and attacked Jennifer and is now sitting in jail. I don't know if you know, but you weren't his first, second, or third affair. He's lost everything, and by the way, so have you." Debbie went back to sobbing and pleading with me that she was sorry. She kept asking what she could do to make it up to me. "Let's start with the suitcases you asked about. They are for you. I packed some clothes and things. You are to get out. I don't care where you go." I picked up the packet the lawyer prepared. "This is the divorce agreement that you will sign. You will get 30% of our assets excluding the house. You will get reasonable visitation and will not have to pay child support. That visitation, of course, will have to be supervised." "What? Who the hell do you think you are, and why would I sign such a thing?" she replied. "First, I'm the husband of a cheating woman who has been with the sleazeball neighbor for the last 6 months. Second, if you don't sign, we will have a very public trial where the hours of you and Tom will be broadcast. Finally, I would hate for these videos to go viral. I guess you could be the next Kim Kardashian." "What about Izzy?" she bawled. "I don't know. How do you want to tell her that her mother is a cheating woman?" Debbie curled up in a ball, wailing. Finally, she calmed down enough to read the paperwork. "I'm not signing this," she replied. "Fair enough." I skipped to another section of the video. Debbie was on her hands and knees with Tom behind her. Debbie was heard shouting, "Oh yes, Tom, be with me the way my husband never has." "Who would like me to send the first video to? Your parents or your principal?" I asked. "You will be in just as much trouble for sending that stuff out," she replied. "Oh, Debbie, don't know who you're married to? Or should I say about to be formally married to? I'm an engineer. They will come from an untraceable account." Debbie argued for a few more minutes till I threatened to hit send. She finally agreed. I had worn her down. She asked if she could go and get some personal items, to which I agreed. 5 minutes later, she was driving away in her car. The divorce agreement was signed. On Sunday, a car pulled into the driveway. It was Debbie's father, Mr. Anderson. He came storming up to the house shouting that I had kicked his daughter out and he was not going to allow it. He said that his daughter had told him about the phony divorce agreement I made her sign. He was going to get it disallowed. I told him to shut up and come into the house. Debbie had not told him the real story. When I told him that his daughter was a cheating woman, he threatened to kick my back. I played the video for him and he shut up real quick. At first, he tried to claim the video had been doctored, but I told him I had hours if he wanted to see. His attitude changed once he saw the huge amount of evidence I had on his sweet daughter. He finally agreed that my proposal was fair to keep the videos from going public. I thought he was more thinking of the shame that would come down on him rather than his daughter. His only request was that he and his wife remain part of Izzy's life. To that, I agreed. Once the paperwork was filed, I allowed Debbie's dad to collect the rest of her things. Tom went to jail for a few months, then disappeared. Telling Izzy was the hardest thing I ever did. She was too young to understand what her mother had done. I told her that Mommy and Daddy weren't together anymore. I didn't blame her, but she seemed to believe that it was her mother's fault. Izzy didn't see her mother for 6 months. Her parents told me that she could face her, but later, I found out that Debbie had been in the hospital. Somehow, she had contracted an incurable STD. I suspected the good doctor Jennifer got her ultimate revenge on Tom and thereby punished my ex-wife for the same stroke. The doctors were able to get the rash under control, but it was highly contagious and not curable. Debbie was told that intimacy for her was out of the question until and if a cure was ever found. Once I learned of the diagnosis, I petitioned the court to prohibit Debbie from having any physical contact with her daughter. The court granted my modification of her visitation. 6 months later, Debbie's mother called. "I hope you're happy. Debbie took a bunch of pills and now she is gone. This is all your fault." "No, Mrs. Anderson. I'm not happy. I wasn't happy the day I found out your daughter was cheating on me. I wasn't happy when I had to tell your granddaughter that her mother had done things that made her have to leave our home and our family. I wasn't happy when I had to tell her that her mother had contracted a disease that would prevent her from physical contact with her mother. So, no, Mrs. Anderson, I'm not happy that I'm going to have to tell my daughter that her mother made such a complete mess of her life that she killed herself. I will not take the blame for your daughter's complete lack of morals. Mrs. Anderson, please just bug off." I didn't see Jennifer after Debbie's funeral. She and Mary moved away. Before she left, I asked her if she knew anything about the STD that both Tom and Debbie had contracted. She looked me in the eyes. That's a question you don't want to ask. And so, we've reached the end of today's story. Was it what you expected, or did it take a twist you didn't see coming? I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Share them in the comments below, and let's get a conversation going. If this story kept you hooked, make sure to hit that like button. And if you're new here or just haven't subscribed yet, now's the perfect time to join our community. I bring you fresh, captivating stories every day, so click that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.